Straighten your back, relax your body, and begin to close your eyes as it feels comfortable. Straighten your back, relax your body, and begin to close your eyes as it feels comfortable. Straighten your back, relax your body, and begin to close your eyes as it feels comfortable. Straighten your back, relax your body, and begin to close your eyes as it feels comfortable. Straighten your back, relax your body, and begin to close your eyes as it feels comfortable. Is everyone having that loop of audio?
I have it.
Relax your body and begin to close your eyes as it feels comfortable. Begin to relax into your setting, feeling whatever is supporting you. Draw your attention to your breathing. You don't have to do anything special, just observe breathing in, breathing out. Normal to have thoughts, and if you encounter thoughts, just bring your attention back to your breath and observe your breath. While you inhale, while you exhale. About 2 minutes left. Just continue to focus on your breathing. And as you're focusing on your breathing, become more aware of your surroundings or under your body. And continue breathing in and out as you become more aware of your surroundings. As you start to have more awareness in your body, you can begin thinking about opening your eyes slowly and just bringing your presence back into our session. As we end our meditation, I want to introduce James Parker. He's married with 2 kids and began meditating with an enlightened master in 2021. He participates and leads some of our PSSM book clubs and just has a lot of fantastic wisdom to share. Hi, James.
Hello. Thank
Sorry,
you for
caught
that.
you mid-sip.
How are you, Megan?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great too. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks for that meditation. It was wonderful. So, again, good evening, brothers and sisters. We are one. Let us remember our oneness always. Our power lies in our oneness. So, we always, in these sessions, we're interested in healing. And healing, the word healing comes from the word wholeness. And to be healed is to be whole. And to be whole is to be one. So we are one. When you meditate and you understand that the love that you have within you is an expression of wholeness, you realize it comes from oneness. And when you realize your oneness with everything that is, you understand that to be ill is a state of denying your wholeness and denying your oneness and denying the truth. And that's where illness comes from, a denial of truth. And so we want to come back to ourselves in order to heal. We heal when we are back to ourselves, when we are living from ourself, we naturally heal. Okay, so the question is, how do we get there? And tonight, I want to talk about it in terms of three different things. And the first thing is going back to the idea that we've already discussed. So we'll come back to an old idea that we've discussed, and then I'll have two additional things that I don't think we've discussed really much, if at all. So, so coming back to the idea of forgiveness, which is so important in helping us to remember our oneness, our wholeness of being. And I would encourage everyone to think about when they've had opportunities to forgive others. We could start with trying to remember a situation where we were in a situation with another, and the other person perhaps did something to offend us or caused us harm, and we immediately, of course, put blame on that person and we judged against that person, and we created within our minds a grievance that we hold against that person. So if you can take a minute now and think about such a situation that you've had in your life and about this other person. And in your mind, you can close your eyes if you want to. In your mind, visualize that person who hurt you in some way and realize that whatever happened, it was surely because people were not aware of their oneness. People were acting as separated individuals and in a selfish way. And in that situation, we want to remember that person is our brother, that person is our sister, and we are connected on a deep level to that person. And we say to that person, I forgive you. I forgive you for what you did. I understand it came from a place of ignorance, and I forgive you. We are one, and I forgive myself as well. And let it go. Just let it go. To the best of your ability, let the grievance go. This is how we forgive. We don't we don't hold a grievance. We don't ask the person to make a wrong right. Um, the question might come up, do I have to tell the person I forgive them? You can if you want to. You don't have to. Forgiveness is forgiveness. It just is. And when you forgive, you give freely. And you don't have to say anything to anybody if you don't want to. Um, but I think if you ever meet the person again, the fact that you've forgiven the person will change the atmosphere in the way you interact with the person. And they'll notice it even if you don't ever say anything. So, what about forgiveness of self? We um, we many times have expectations for ourselves and we don't meet them. And so what do? We criticize ourselves. We we say negative things about ourselves. And when we do such things, we have to realize that this doesn't come from a place of love. Okay? It's okay to have goals in life. It's okay to say that you're going to achieve something. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem comes in when when you decide that the mistake is of such a magnitude and of such importance that you find fault in yourself and you hold a grievance against yourself. This is really a mistake. And I'll tell you why. The reason it's a mistake is because everyone is already perfect. You are already perfect. There's nothing you need to do in order to have perfection. And so when you look at yourself and you criticize yourself and say negative things about yourself, it's wrong. It's not correct. Sure, maybe there was an expectation. Maybe, typical example, you're a student somewhere and you're taking a course for credit and, your goal is to get an A. Everybody would love to have that A, of course. Is it a realistic goal? Maybe it is. Uh, who knows? I don't know. Um, but you don't get the A. You get something less. So then you're disappointed, you're let down, you're wondering what did you do wrong? If only I would have changed this, that, or the other thing. And and so you criticize yourself. And it's really a problem when you hold that criticism and you just can't let go of it. Okay. This creates a grievance in mind, which definitely will block the flow of love energy. And when the flow of love energy is blocked, what happens? Well, let's remember about this love energy. So, love is what we are, it's our beingness. So, remember, human beings are multidimensional. We exist as spirit, we exist as mind, and we exist as body. This is the human state of existence. Okay, we have all these three levels. And how is it that we're alive? Well, life comes from spirit. Spirit is life. So the fact that the body seems to be alive is a result of the spirit. Spirit is life. And since spirit is life, there's no opposite to life. Death is a myth. Okay? Death is an idea that people got in their mind because they're looking out through these eyes of the body and they're seeing things with the body's eyes from a limited perspective. And they say, oh, there's death. Okay. That is one of the great myths of being a human. You get to believe in the idea of death. And you want to keep in mind it's not true. Okay, so let's go back to the importance of love and life. What else is a spiritual aspect of what we are? Awareness. Awareness is a spiritual aspect of what we are. What is it that's aware? And you can ask yourself this and wonder about it. What is it that's aware? Okay. If you ask a scientist or a biologist about what is it that's aware, they'll point you to the brain and they'll say it's the brain activity and its neurons and its chemicals. And I will just say one thing about that. I will say, how is it possible that a collection of molecules suddenly has awareness? I don't see that as happening. I do have my degree in chemistry, and I've never seen a molecule that was aware of anything. So, awareness comes from spirit. Awareness is an aspect of spirit, as life is an aspect of spirit. Awareness and life flow through the body, and love is the energy that holds awareness and life together and allows the body to live and function so the spirit can express through mind and have a physical experience through body. Okay? So that's how it works. And if we understand how it works and why it works that way, we understand that love is very, very critical to health, to the body's health, and also to mental health, right? There's not just physical health, but there's mental health. So, in order to be healthy both physically and mentally, we have to allow the love energy to flow from spirit through mind and into the body without having grievances that block. And so we want to forgive ourselves for not meeting that expectation so that we can allow ourself to express the love that we are in this human form. So we look at ourselves and we say, I'm sorry for criticizing myself. I'm sorry for all the negative talk against myself. I understand I was not being true to myself when I was doing that. And I forgive myself for behaving in such an unloving way to myself. And just let those grievances go. You didn't make that A in that class. You only got a B or a C or who knows, but it wasn't what you wanted. Let the grievance go and accept what is now. And if you have to go back and retake the class, so be it. Just go back and redo it. You can always redo. You can always have another goal. You can always try again. Okay? With most things, you can always try again. And it's fine to have goals, but just be accepting of what is now. So, one of the keys to being able to forgive and to being healthy. So, forgiveness is one thing I wanted to talk about. Now, there's another thing too that's important to talk about, and that's feelings. Okay. So, what about feelings? And what are feelings? And what are they for? And why are they there? This could be a complicated subject, and I don't want to spend lots of time on it, but we'll talk about it for a few minutes. So, we all have feelings, whether they come up as positive feelings or negative feelings, but we all have them. And feelings are a way to relate information between the physical aspect of the body and the mental aspect and the spiritual aspect. And so, if you think about it, what a feeling is it's really a flow of information between the body, mind, and spirit, and between the spirit, mind, and body. It's a flow of information. It's not, it's not information that's on the same level as a clear thought that goes through mind, but it's information that gives a feeling, and it can be very positive or it could be very negative, depending on the feeling. And it's a flow of information. We have these feelings, and we want to remain in touch with the feeling. Okay, the feeling exists for a reason. It exists to inform us about something. Okay, and it is important. It's important because it's an aspect of ourself. And sometimes it's hard to stay with the feeling. I understand that. I get it. Something happens that's, you call it bad, something bad happens, and it gives a feeling that can be very negative. It can make us feel, the feeling, it can make you feel really down sometimes if something bad happens. And on the flip side, something good happens, and you can feel so much joy and so much positive energy and so much love. But should you always be flip-flopping? Is there a reason that you're flip-flopping sometimes? You go negative, positive, positive, negative. Does it have to be that way? And I think for a certain extent, on a certain level of awareness, it is necessarily that way until you release the feelings that have been held back. Because here's how people sometimes deal with the feelings, and it's an unhealthy way to deal with them. Um, a person who has a negative feeling and doesn't want to experience the feeling can suppress that feeling and push it out of awareness. And where does the feeling go? What does it do? Well, it ends up in the subconsciousness. Okay. And it's still there, but you're not as aware of it right now because you've suppressed it, but it's still there and it still needs to tell you something. It still needs to inform you about something. So it's going to pop up later at a time when it's very inconvenient for you and you won't like it. And so suppressing a feeling is not a healthy way to deal with it. Okay. And then the other typical way of dealing with an unwanted feeling is to say, well, um, this isn't my fault. I didn't do this. This is his fault. This is her fault. She did it. And you blame this feeling on somebody else. And that's called projection of the feeling. You're kind of pushing it out from yourself and saying, it's not my fault, it's your fault. And you're blaming an external someone for this feeling. And when you push that feeling out and away from you and say, I don't want this, this isn't who I am, you're pushing a piece of you out of your awareness, but it's still there. Okay. And it still needs to inform you of something. Remember, it's flow of information between spirit and mind and body. Okay. That's what the feeling is. It's a flow of information, non-intellectual information, but information nevertheless. And so, um, if you project it out or if you suppress it, it's still there, but it's not as able anymore to inform you. And so what happens is it can lead to blockages of the flow of love energy between spirit and mind and body. Okay. And when that happens, what happens then is something called illness manifests itself in our lives. So we become physically ill with some problem, some disease. And it could be anything. And I'm not going to say what it might be, but it could be anything. We all know what diseases are. We all know what illnesses are, but they will crop up. And it's a reminder of something important that we suppressed or that we projected out. Okay. So this feeling will still try to inform, even if it can't inform as a feeling state anymore, it will inform by taking on a manifestation of illness. And so, what's then the correct way to deal with feeling? So, the correct way to deal with feelings is to be allowing of the feeling, just to be in a state of allowing. Now, how do you deal with a difficult feeling? Some feelings will make you cry and they'll make you feel weak, can make you feel lots of things that maybe you don't want to feel. But here's the thing to remember about all that. It could be difficult for a while, sure, but it's important to feel the feeling. It's important to let the feeling be there and to be with that feeling and to put your awareness on the feeling and to tell the feeling, I'm here and I know you and I see you and I feel you and I want to know what it is that I need to know and let the feeling flow. And it will flow through you and flow through you until it's no more. And who knows how long it might take. It might just be a minute or two, or it might go on longer. It might go on for an hour or 2 hours, or if you have to, come back to it for days. And you need to spend time. If it's going on for days, you will need to spend some time every day sitting quietly with that feeling in your awareness and allowing it to be there without labeling it, without judging it, but just asking it, please teach me what I need to know. You are now my teacher, and I want you to teach me what I need to know. The feeling will flow through you, and no matter how bad it is, it will eventually dissipate because it has a limited energy. And eventually, the information that the feeling was carrying is fully absorbed by you. Whether it comes through your conscious mind or your subconscious mind, it doesn't really matter. It'll be absorbed somewhere and you'll know it. Even if you can't say exactly what it is, you'll know it. And at that point, the reason for the feeling to be there anymore is gone. It doesn't have a reason to be there anymore. It's done what it had to do. Now it now it's free to go. It's leaving you in peace. Now you're in peace. You've done your time with the feeling. You've learned what you had to learn from it. You spent your time with it. You allowed it to be, and now it's gone. The energy behind that feeling dissipates and it's gone. And now you're in a state of more peace and even more joy. And maybe you're feeling even more love energy in your life. And if you had an affliction, whether it was physical or mental, maybe you noticed that that affliction is now dissipating. Maybe you're noticing it used to be that back pain. It used to be very severe. Now it's much less severe. Now it's more mild. Maybe it's even gone. Okay? Maybe it's even gone. Maybe those headaches that used to be recurring, those migraines that used to come every so often, maybe you don't see them anymore because you allowed that feeling to tell you what was so important for you to know. Okay. And so that's a way that we can heal as well, is to be with our feelings and to allow them to be our teacher for the time that they need to be our teacher. And you can mentally get yourself through it by realizing they all take a certain limited time to express themselves. And when you realize that all these feelings just need a portion of your time, they don't need forever, they need a portion of your time to express, and you're willing to give that time, that's when you resolve these feelings. And that's when your illnesses start to dissipate. Okay, so we've talked tonight about forgiveness and we've talked about feelings and how to deal with them. I will say one thing that's also related to feelings. Um, when you have a physical illness and it's making you uncomfortable because the symptoms are, exhibiting themselves in some sort of a way, I would suggest that the way to deal with the physical symptoms is in a similar manner as how you would deal with feelings. You would feel the symptom. You would not label the symptom. You would not give it a name. Whatever your doctor called it, you wouldn't call it that. You would just allow it to be as it is. Of course, take your medicine, whatever medicine you have to alleviate symptoms. But medicines generally aren't perfect, and so we still feel the symptoms. And so you would want to be with your symptoms, your feelings that are going through the body in the same way that you were dealing with pure feelings, and allow that to express through you and not resist it, but let it go. Let it go. Just say to yourself, I'm going to let this illness go. I can feel it now. I can feel this feeling that I'm getting in my body, but I'm going to let it go. I choose not to have it anymore. I choose not to have that because I'm an infinite being. I'm a being of love, and this doesn't serve me as to who I am and who I want to be. And you let that go. And however you can let it go, you let it go. My my pathway in letting things go is to say, well, isn't that ridiculous? Those are my words. I love to use this word ridiculous. I don't know why. It just comes up for me and I just say, well, isn't that ridiculous? How is it possible that the body could be ill in such a way? Isn't that ridiculous? It's such contrary to love that we could be ill. It's such contrary. It's so contrary that it's ridiculous. And as soon as you see that, it just starts dissipating on its own. It just starts, you let it go. You say, there's no reason for having this. I can't think of one good reason to think that I would even want to hold on to this, right? Okay, so you let it go by saying it's a ridiculous thing. I'm an infinite being. I'm all powerful. I create my own reality, and this is ridiculous, and I'm not going to have this anymore. You don't deny it. We're not denying it. We're just withdrawing our power of belief from it. And as we withdraw the power of belief from it, it dissipates. It may take some time to dissipate, but it will. Okay, so that's how we handle that. Now, there's another thing I wanted to talk about tonight, and people would ask maybe, what can I do for health besides this? What else can I do for health? Uh, I go to my doctor, and my doctor says, the key to health is diet and exercise. You just got to diet and you just got to exercise. I'm sure we've all heard that. And I'm going to say something now that may be considered radical. And you may have heard some radical ideas already coming from me. But I'm going to say that diet and exercise aren't required for health. Okay, it's not required. Do it if you want. Okay, you can do it. You don't have to do it though if you want to be healthy. What's exercise for? Well, if you want to be an athlete, go exercise, go train. Go do some exercises if you want to be an athlete. That's great. Um, maybe some minimum amount of exercise is good. Maybe some walking is good. Um, but do you have to go jogging to be healthy? Do you have to go to the gym and work out to be healthy? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say you don't. And I'm going to say you don't because I don't do that. and I'm perfectly healthy. I do my minimum exercises. I walk around. I sometimes when I have time, I'll ride a bicycle because I like to ride a bicycle. And it's not because I'm trying to be healthy, but it does, it is the exercises that I do that I like to do, like walking and riding a bike. I enjoy doing those activities. I do them because I enjoy doing them. I don't do them with the idea that this will make me healthy. Okay. So that's one thing. Now, I do practice yoga, but that's a different topic, and I'm not going to talk about that today. Um, I do some certain yoga exercises that I really like, and I do believe that things like doing a plank. I don't know if you've ever done a plank before, but it's kind of like you get into the push-up position with your hands on the floor and your arms straight, and you hold your back straight, and it's called a plank because your body is sort of like rigid like a plank. And you just hold that for 1 or 2 minutes, and it really, really works out the core muscles. If you're trying to get your midsection in shape, it's great. But that's about it for exercises as far as what I do. I don't do much more than that. And here's the thing. I mentioned diet. I said, what about diet? Do I diet? Here's what I do for diet. And I'll tell you the secret. Secret is called fasting. All right. You don't have to do any dieting at all. But if you want your body to really look good and to really be healthy, and you really want to lose some extra weight and keep it off permanently without dieting, then try fasting. Okay. Here's how I fasted, and here's what results I got. I decided that I wanted to try an old-fashioned fasting regimen. And so my first big fast was a day and a half. A day and a half. This is a starter, a starter fast where I didn't eat any food for a day and a half. And the only thing I took in was some some lemon juice that I squeezed into some water. Okay. And somebody told me that put cayenne pepper in there too. So put some cayenne pepper in your lemon juice and squeeze that into some water and drink that down and have as much of that as you want. But don't eat any food. Don't eat anything. Drink as much water and as much lemon juice with cayenne pepper as you want. And I did that for a day and a half. And it was good. It was good. It got me introduced to the idea that I could do fasting. I had never gone a full 24 hours before without food. And so it was a big step for me mentally, but it didn't result in any progress. And I knew I needed more. I knew um, if I really wanted to have a physical effect that was not only physical, but also spiritual, I needed to go longer on the fast. So think about it. Fasting used to be a lot more common in ancient times. And today, nobody recommends fasting. If you go to your doctor and you ask your doctor, should I fast? The doctor's going to say no. No, you need to eat for your health. And why do they say that? Because they're not trained to do it. And they themselves probably have never done it. And they can't understand why anybody would even do it. But ancient people used to do it. And people who are more connected to nature don't always have a regular flow of food. And the body is actually designed to go for periods of time without intaking food. And when we overfeed the body, it can develop health problems. Okay. So I would say if you want to lose some weight and you want to keep it off permanently for your health, but you also want to have a spiritual experience and you want to know yourself more deeply, not as a body, but as who you really are, your spirit. You can do a fast. You can try a multi-day fast. First, try a 24-hour fast. Make sure you're comfortable with it. Then do then later, much later, try a multi-day fast. My first big fast was a 5-day fast, 5 calendar days. It was more, it was, it extended out more than 5 days, but it was 5 full calendar days of nothing but water. I only drank water. I didn't even drink the lemon juice. I didn't have the cayenne pepper. I only had water. And I only had tap water. It was just tap water, nothing else. That fast really was an amazing experience. It was hard. It was mentally hard, but it was amazing. I lost so much weight. I don't understand how I did it. Honestly, it doesn't seem possible. I lost so much weight. It was 20 pounds. I lost 20 pounds in 5 days. I don't know how it happened. I suspect that probably what happened is my relationship to food became different because I understood that a constant intake of food wasn't required. Somebody says to you, you got to have 3 full meals a day in order to be healthy. Well, why? Question that. Why? Who says so? Why? And how do you know? How do you know you got to have 3 full meals? Why should you have to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day? I mean, sure, you could if you wanted to. There's nothing stopping you. But is it really required? Is it really, really required for your health to have 3 full meals a day? I would say just ask yourself the question. When I fasted, that was one of the first things I learned was, oh, it's not needed to have food coming in constantly. Oh, I can live without food for a while. Sure, I would want to have food, and I started to understand the wantingness was coming from a mental state. It wasn't coming from a physical state. The physical sensations of hunger were strong in the first 24 to 48 hours, but after that, they subsided, and I wasn't really feeling hunger. The stomach becomes very quiet after 48 hours or so of no food. And it shrinks and it actually goes into a state of dormancy and it's just inactive. And you're fine. I mean, you can't work like you normally work when you're on a no food type fast and you're only drinking water. You have to rest, okay? Don't even think you're going to be working. So if you wanted to try a fast, you can have some time off of work to do it. Okay, you need to be quiet. You need to be resting. You're not exercising. You're not working. You could read a book. You could meditate. Okay, but that's about it. Um, so that fast taught me a lot, and I'll just continue on with one more fast that I did. So later on, probably a few months later, I wanted to do another fast, and I wanted to do one differently. And so I decided I would do a fresh squeezed juice fast because I had read about this technique and it sounded great. Um, the idea with a fresh squeezed juice fast is that you would have some fresh squeezed juice once in the morning after you wake up and once in the evening hours. So twice a day. And not a lot. So what I did is I chose grapefruit as my fruit and I squeezed 2 of them in the morning and I drank that. And I squeezed 2 in the evening and I drank that. And that's all I had besides water. With water coming in, it helped too. You got to have your water, right? But I didn't have anything else. You just stop everything. And so you have this juice fast, and if you choose, you could have more juice than that. I mean, if you choose, you got to put some sort of a limit on it. I think the recommendation for the juice fast I was following said maximum of 2 liters of fresh juice per day, and I was probably doing closer to 1 liter of fresh juice per day. Um, you could choose your juice or your vegetable that you want, but it needs to be fresh. So you could do carrot juice, which would be very healthy, I think. Um, but you don't want anything with additives in it. Ideally, you would do it yourself and it would be fresh. Um, so what did I learn from the juice fast? Well, I learned that a juice fast is easier than a water fast, primarily because the juice contains electrolytes. Most fruits and vegetables have a lot of potassium, and the body uses potassium to regulate nervous activity. The activities of the nervous system are regulated with potassium. And so as you drink the fruit juice, the body absorbs potassium. And I felt like it was an easier fast for me. It still got a big, big benefit. Even though you're taking in the sucrose from the juice, you're not taking solid foods. And so the stomach still does shut down. You do have glucose coming in, and you do get some glucose into your body, and it makes it easier, but you still aren't eating any solid food. So there's still the challenge of, wanting food and trying to see how the food isn't what you are. And that's one of the things you learn on the fast. I am not this food. This food is very helpful to the body, but it's not what I am. And you see that. And you still lose a lot of weight. You lose a lot of weight on a juice fast. I did 8 days on the juice fast. Okay, 5 on the water fast, primarily because I had to go back to work and I couldn't work. I knew I couldn't work. I didn't have enough energy to work when I was on the water fast, so I had to start eating again. But with the juice fast, I could get by a little bit easier, and so I did 8 days on the juice fast. But the bottom line is, after this kind of fasting, 20 pounds came off. And it stayed off. It stayed off and it never, ever came back. And I eat whatever I want to eat. Now, I am a vegetarian. I don't eat meat. But when you're at the level of love, the compassion in you says, I don't need this meat and I'm not eating it. And you don't even think about it. All right. So so you will be a vegetarian automatically when you're at the level of love. So, so one of the big effects, one of the big physical effects, though, with these two big fasts was to me to lose weight permanently. I don't diet, but I do eat whole foods, and I naturally oriented myself. I don't have it in my brain saying I have to only eat whole healthy foods. My body has decided that it really, really enjoys whole, healthy foods. And so that's what I choose now. And after the fasting, I used to eat junk food. I used to eat a lot of snacky type foods, processed commercial foods. I honestly don't even want those anymore after the fasting. Lots of things come out of your body when you're fasting. Toxins are held by the fat cells in your body, and there's no way for them to come out of your body because they can't migrate out of the fat and into the water and be flushed out. And so you have these toxins that are locked into the fat. But when you're fasting, the body suddenly says, I got to tap into that fat reserve because otherwise There's no energy. So your body starts tapping into the fat reserve. And what happens is those toxins that were locked into that fat reserve are now eliminated from the body. Okay. It's one of the big, big benefits of fasting. You eliminate those toxins and you're healthier. You're a much healthier person. So I would encourage anybody who's interested to fast to try it.
Yes, I'm interested.
Do what feels right for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't necessarily have a goal that you're going to do an X number of days, especially at the beginning. But just try, like, if you've never fasted before, maybe have a little goal of 24 hours. Can you get through 24 hours? And try that on a day that you're not going to work. And then build it up, over time, build it up. There's one book that I really like if you're looking for a reference. Let me see if it's on my bookshelf. Oh, I like this one. I wouldn't say any particular reference is like a Bible or anything, but if you wanted a reference to say, hey, how do I do this? What's a good way of doing it? I like this book. It's called
Okay.
The Miracle of Fasting, and it's written by a person named Paul Bragg. It seems like it's a good reference. There's a lot of good ideas in here on how you could do a fast, and having some guidance is a good thing. Going into it, they kind of tell you what to expect and some different things you can do. So if you're looking for a reference, this is something I would recommend. Um, so my advice for health, you don't need dieting and exercise, but you could try fasting, and then you'll just naturally eat what you want, and you'll lose a lot of weight, and you'll just naturally be healthy. And of course, the medical industry doesn't promote fasting because it actually does lead to good physical health. And as soon as you have this good physical health, you're no longer a customer. You're no longer going to your doctor and spending time and money at your doctor's office and buying prescription drugs because you don't need to. So they don't ever tell you about fasting because they don't want to lose your business. Okay.
Yeah.
So any questions about any of this?
So you're in the process of fruitarian to breatharian.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
So, and I don't, I
well,
don't, I don't do a lot of fasting. I do fasting, let's say 3, 4 times a year. I try to do some fasting 3, 4 times a year. That's it, you know, and I just naturally eat healthy foods, and I just kind of eat when my body says, "Hey, I need to eat now." And I could go a while without eating. Many times I don't eat breakfast because I wake up in the morning and I was like, I'm not hungry. I need to eat. I'm not hungry. I'm gonna go do some stuff. And then lunchtime rolls around and oh, now I'm hungry. Okay, now I'm gonna go eat something. So
well explanation about thoughts and feelings. It's very hard to be in that feeling. So, but with practice, we can do that thing also. You said like flow the feeling into you, whatever the bad situation or feelings, the painful situations.
yeah, yeah.
How to
Be with
motivate
it,
ourselves at that point of time? It's very hard to.
right? It's very hard sometimes to be with a feeling because it's unpleasant, right? I mean, who wants an unpleasant feeling? Nobody wants that, right? I mean, but when you understand that that feeling is there for a reason, and you realize when you suppress that feeling, what does it do? Pops up later at a very inconvenient time, and you're like, "Oh man, it's back," you know? And so the way to deal with it so it doesn't bother you later is to spend time with it, right? Intentionally spend time with it. Now, it's probably best to be by yourself. It's probably best to be in a quiet place, almost like you're going to meditate, but you could close your eyes if you wanted to, but just give that feeling your attention and put your attention on it and be like compassionate with the feeling, you know. Just almost like the feeling is an entity that's come to you and it wants to communicate with you. And you're like, okay, all right, this may not be convenient for me, but you know what? I'm going to sit here and give you my time. I'm going to give you my attention. And I want to find out what it is I need to know. And if you do that, it will dissipate and it will eventually leave you and you will no longer be uncomfortable. And in fact, you'll find yourself in a state of peace. You may even find yourself in a state of joy, and you may even find that you have now don't have certain physical problems that you used to have before. Okay. These are the benefits of allowing the feelings to come. Now, you've got to set aside time to do this, right? You can't be
Prac-
distracted. You
The
can't be,
practice we
hey,
can.
I'm at work, I'm doing something. Yeah, you got to have time to do this. So you got to make time to do it. And it will pay off. You will be so happy that you did it. Okay, it will pay off because what will come out of it is a state of peace and a state of joy that wasn't able to be there until the feeling can express itself.
What motivated you to become vegetarian?
So, long time ago, I my wife and I were this was I say long time ago. It's kind of a funny expression, isn't it? It was approximately the year 2000. My wife and I were talking, and my wife said to me, it would be a good idea to be vegetarian. And I said, you're right, it would be a good idea. So we both intended to try to do it. And slowly over time we were able to do it. And we used to just tell a kind of a funny story, and people would ask us, "How are you vegetarian?" And I would say, "Well, it was my wife's idea." And she would say, "No, no, no, that's not true. It was my husband's idea." And we would just kind of point the finger at each other. And so we didn't really know whose idea it was anymore. And that was kind of funny, I thought. I will say that when my son grew up, he really wanted to eat meat, and when he got older, he started eating meat. And so I kind of commiserated with him, and I wasn't a vegetarian for a while. I did start eating meat again once he was a teenager. But going back into meditation and really experiencing the level of love got me back to, hey, vegetarianism is the thing without me intentionally choosing it. You see, one day it just so happened that I realized I couldn't eat meat anymore. I didn't intentionally say I'm going to be a vegetarian again. I just realized this thing about eating meat, it doesn't work for me. And and it was the same with drinking alcoholic beverages. I used to have a glass of wine once in a while, a lot of times with dinner as kind of like a tradition, and I enjoyed the taste of wine. But I realized at a certain point, once I had been meditating and I had my very, very deep, very profound experience, the usual habit came, here's a glass of wine, there you go, and pick it up. And as soon as it would touch my tongue, I would realize, oh, this isn't for me. Put it back down. Where did that come from? I don't know. I just realized it's not for me. I cannot take alcohol anymore. Somebody puts meat in front of me. No, 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 that's not for me. I cannot do that anymore. And these are things that happened without me intending for it to happen, but just being in touch with, oh, oh, that doesn't work anymore. I don't know why, but it just doesn't work anymore. So that's how I regained vegetarianism. It just
Wonderful.
naturally
It's
happened.
very hard to find vegetarians here, but you did it. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So now I'm much more successful with the vegetarianism. The meditation helped in a big
Yeah.
way for that. Yeah,
Thank you. If you want to ask any questions, you can ask him. Thank you. Thank you, James.
you're
I really
welcome.
enjoyed this session.
Yeah, it
I'm
was
glad.
really good. I'm sorry my camera's not on, but it was really great. Good
Oh,
advice.
yeah, no problem, Megan. You don't have to turn on your camera. That's fine. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful, and I hope you can, find some use for some of these things, some of these ideas I'm giving out. My hope is that everyone will be much happier and healthier and joyful and finding ways to do that. So, great. So, sending much love to everyone. Um, just want to say I love you all. Try some things that will help you in your life. And yeah,
Thank you, everyone, for
we'll
joining the session. Thank you, James.
meet again next week.
Yeah.
You're
Yep.
welcome. I hope I have some good ideas for you next week.
Yeah.
All right.
Good
Y'all
night,
have a
guys.
good evening.
Thank you.